We stream the show, but I really wish we could show what happens behind the scenes because we have such a great group of people and it's so much fun. And speaking of fun, what's more fun than talking term limits? It's a topic we often cover here on American Medicine Today. And joining us right now is Nick Tomboulides, the executive director of
Very
U.S. Term
good.
Limits, the largest grassroots movement in American history, who stands up against government malpractice and look to implement term limits in every governmental office across the land. It's about time. Thank you for being here, Nick.
Thanks for having me, Kimberly. Happy to be here.
Now, this is something that Dr. Bonatti has just preached about for years, is how can we impose term limits? I've had a handful of guests on the show to talk about, including constitutional attorneys, law experts. Nobody has given Dr. Bonatti an acceptable answer to this. Every time he's like, well, I don't care what you just said. Let's get someone on here to tell me how we can make this happen.
So what do you got, Nick?
So tell us how we can do this, Nick.
The Supreme Court ruled that term limits on Congress can only be implemented by constitutional amendment. Said it needs to be done by constitutional amendment. Now, Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution allows for two means of amendment. The first is to have Congress propose the amendment with a two-thirds majority.
That they never will do.
No, they'll never do it. That's like getting chickens to vote for Colonel Sanders. Congress
That's it.
That's the best analogy I've ever heard about that.
You're right.
Now, thankfully, though, the founders and all of their wisdom gave us another way to do it. It's called the Article 5 Convention. They specifically inserted this into the Constitution to give states a way to bypass Congress and obtain amendments that are not in the politicians' best interest. And the way this works is you have 34 state legislatures pass resolutions applying for a convention to put term limits on Congress. Florida's the first state that did it. We just passed it last month out of the legislature here because
Give it up for Florida.
Round of applause for
all
Florida.
the legislators are just dying to get into Congress. That's their life's goal.
We finally did something right in Florida.
About time. So the convention is called. The delegates are picked by the states. They're sent there, and they propose a term limits amendment, and then you need 38 states to ratify it.
Let me ask you, though, we always hear we need to be extremely cautious of doing something called a constitutional convention. Is there any truth to that?
There is truth that you should be cautious about a constitutional convention. That would mean going ahead and trying to rewrite the whole document, rewrite the basic law. But this is what we're calling for here is just a limited purpose convention to propose a single amendment on a single subject. That's what the states are asking for.
Oh, brilliant. What's about time that somebody used their brain?
Nick, to get a deal done like that, though, how much stuff is going to get tacked on to it so that by the time, if this convention were to happen, would it be an unlimited agenda by all the things that were tacked on to get to the convention?
No, we don't think so. I mean, there's some case law saying that legally you can hold this convention to a single topic, so they're not really allowed to tack other things onto it. The state of Florida has the ability to recall the delegates that they send to the convention if they're discussing a subject other than term limits. So if they start to veer off the agenda, we can kind of rein them in.
And it's no way to put this type of a concept now on the ballot for the election of the president at the same time?
Unfortunately, Doc, you can't put it on the ballot just because of the way Article 5 of the Constitution works and the whole idea of needing to do it by amendment. We tried to put it on the ballot in the early 1990s, but the court stepped in and said states can't do it with their own laws, their own constitutional amendments. They need to amend the federal Constitution.
Okay.
And that's what we're doing right now.
Did that information satisfy you at all, Doc? Or?
Yeah, the only thing that I would like to know is how can we help you? What things you need?
Citizens in other states need to get active on this. So, I would tell your audience, tell their friends and family to go to termlimitsconvention.com, sign the petition there for term limits. We'll get you involved. We'll let you know how you can help pass this where you're located. So,
all right, perfect. Thanks a lot,
Thank you so
Nick.
much.
Have a great one.
Take care.
Guys.